Hey everyone, let's get right into it. Today, we are unpacking a really fascinating and honestly, absolutely crucial piece of geopolitical analysis from the Council on Foreign Relations. We're looking closely at the high-stakes May 2026 summit between US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. In this explainer, we're going to break down the complex dynamics, the unique leverage each leader brings to the table, and how the entire global landscape has dramatically shifted since they last met. We've distilled the expert consensus into a clear roadmap, so let's jump in. Okay, let's dive into this timeline to understand exactly how we got here. Because, wow, it is definitely not 2017 anymore when Trump made his first state visit to China. Following a pretty fragile trade truce back in October 2025, this highly anticipated meeting was actually delayed in March 2026, and that was due to the US and Israeli strikes on Iran. So now, as they finally sit down in Beijing in May 2026, the backdrop is incredibly tense. The global economy is feeling the heavy weight of soaring oil and gas prices, which, you're likely feeling directly at the pump, and that's tied straight to the ongoing US naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Think of this summit as a massive, high-stakes card game. The four battlegrounds are critical minerals, the AI arms race, Taiwan's future, and energy dominance. Starting off with card number one. Critical minerals. The experts note that the real center of geopolitical gravity has structurally shifted. Leverage isn't just about old-school tariff strategies anymore. It's all about the critical minerals ecosystem. This is the deeply integrated supply chain of rare earth elements and permanent magnets. Why does this matter so much? Well, because you literally cannot build modern military systems, or even the smartphone in your pocket for that matter, without them. The analysis points out that China has already used this exact ecosystem as a break-glass tool. Just last year, when they were facing unprecedented 140% tariffs, China threatened to restrict the flow of these exact materials. And you know what? It successfully forced the US to back down and de-escalate. And this brilliantly illustrates the current structural imbalance we're dealing with. On one side, you have US vulnerabilities. The rapid use of advanced weapons in the Middle East and Ukraine means the US desperately needs to replenish its missile systems and munitions. But building new mining and processing capacity, that takes years, if not decades. On the flip side, we have China's distinct advantages. They completely dominate midstream processing and magnet manufacturing. As the global demand for rearmament and commercial tech surges, China's systemic control over these inputs gives them massive, undeniable geopolitical influence. Moving on to card number two, the AI arms race. Capabilities in artificial intelligence are advancing at lightning speed right now, literally doubling in power every 4 months, which brings us to a shocking number: 8. That is the mere 8-month lead the United States currently holds over China in AI development. It's a significant margin for sure, but it is a gap that Beijing is desperately and very actively trying to close. So how exactly is China trying to close that 8-month gap? The CFR experts assess that Beijing's push for safety dialogues with the US is highly calculated. While the US approaches these talks to prevent dangerous AI capabilities from getting out there, China views them primarily as a golden opportunity to complain about and potentially bypass US export controls. Chinese leaders have actually stated outright that a lack of access to American AI chips is the single biggest constraint on their tech development right now. To counter this, the analysis outlines a recommended playbook for the US to ensure long-term safety. Step 1 is establishing a very narrow AI safety dialogue that strictly excludes any talk of export controls. Step 2 involves a maximum pressure campaign to close all loopholes allowing China to access those US AI chips. And Step 3 is the ultimate goal: widen the technological gap from 8 months to 18 or 24 months. By creating a practically insurmountable lead, Beijing would actually be incentivized to comply with safety agreements simply out of fear of detection and reprisal from vastly superior US models. Now for card number 3, Taiwan's future. Going into this summit, there is a clear disconnect. While the US really wants to focus on economics, China centers squarely on Taiwan. According to the analysis, Xi Jinping sees a window of opportunity here and has a specific list of demands he might press for. First, moving the US from not supporting to formally opposing Taiwan independence. Second, forcing the US to pre-negotiate arms sales to the island, leveraging the fact that the US actually recently delayed a major arms package. And third, pushing the US to distance itself from Japan's recent statements that described a Taiwan contingency as a survival-threatening situation. Basically, Beijing wants to trade economic cooperation for these major shifts in US policy. Now, what's really interesting about this is how much severe anxiety this creates in Taipei. This quote from a senior Taiwanese official perfectly captures the fear that their geopolitical security is simply becoming a bargaining chip. They are terrified of being just an item on the menu to be traded away for stateside economic wins. The report neutrally highlights the real-world consequences of these dynamics. If the U.S. actually adjusts its policy under Chinese pressure, it immediately fuels a massive trust deficit. Taiwan has been making significant progress lately in overhauling its military and boosting defense spending, but that entire effort fundamentally relies on confidence in the United States. Undercutting that confidence undermines Taiwan's own vital defense investments, which, at the end of the day, ultimately brings Beijing closer to its goal of absorption.
Bringing us to the final card on the board, energy dominance.
Here, the two leaders have vastly different visions for how to project global power through energy resources. It's a fascinating contrast between the petrostate and the electrostate. The U.S. strategy relies heavily on oil and liquefied natural gas. Trade deals are structured to require partners to build long-lived LNG infrastructure tied directly to American producers. China, on the other hand, is leaning fully into the electrostate model. They completely dominate the production of solar panels, wind turbines, and EVs, exporting this technology globally at bargain prices. To energy importing nations, this clean tech package looks highly appealing. I mean, it's a lot easier to say yes to cheap solar panels today than to commit to a multi-decade natural gas pipeline. And the CFR experts point out that the ongoing war in Iran has completely shaken up this dynamic. The U.S. Navy's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz has caused massive disruptions to global oil, which obviously weakens the appeal of the U.S. petrostate model. Meanwhile, China has successfully buffered itself from the shock through its massive reserves and rapid domestic electrification. In fact, as traditional fuel supplies remain so uncertain right now, global reliance on China's exported electrical goods has only soared. So, with all the cards laid out, who actually holds the winning hand? We have to look at this overarching philosophy from Xi Jinping. The East is rising and the West is declining. The analysis notes that Xi enters this summit projecting a calm, calculated confidence. He isn't necessarily seeking a direct explosive confrontation. Instead, he feels that time and momentum are on China's side, and he is looking for a managed equilibrium. Beijing's actual tactical goals for this summit are remarkably pragmatic. First, they want to buy time to continue consolidating their technological autonomy. Second, they are more than willing to offer symbolic, headline-grabbing deals, like buying Boeing aircraft or American soybeans, if it helps stabilize their faltering economy and kind of manages Washington's aggression. Finally, they want to use this uneasy détente to further insulate themselves from Western dependencies through their dual circulation strategy, essentially boosting their domestic consumption while engaging in global trade strictly on their own terms. So, the crucial point is this. According to the CFR expert consensus, the underlying structural asymmetry currently favors Beijing. While the U.S. might walk away with symbolic economic wins, China's firm grip on critical mineral supply chains and their soaring dominance in clean energy technology are what truly define power in this new era of economic statecraft. This is an era that will dictate global markets and, realistically, your cost of living for decades to come. Which leaves us with this final thought to consider. The levers of global power are undeniably shifting right under our feet. We are moving away from an era defined by tariffs and fossil fuels, and entering one dictated by AI algorithms, rare earth magnets, and clean technology. The big question is, can the United States pivot and adapt its strategy in time to build resilience, or has China already dealt the winning hand? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this helped map out the incredibly complex dynamics of this superpower summit. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.